James W. Falcon here for yet another installment, yet one more installment in this whole process called Inspiration Management. We're talking about the process, and this is a continuation of that. So, where I left off before was talking about the fact that you need to have a centralized folder, notebook or something, to where once you jot down your initial notes, you take that in whatever form it's in and it gets moved somewhere else or to another stage if it doesn't physically get lifted and put somewhere else. And that's important because you want to keep inspiration moving. Here's something I want to share with you in this segment that is critical, just as critical, if not more, than anything else that I've talked about. As an artist, as a professional, as a mother, father, whatever it is you do as it relates to the inspiration you get to do that thing, you should always, always, always have enough work on hand, in the works, in process of moving through several stages to where you are always able to produce something. Let me make the point by giving you this example. I understand, as I read somewhere years ago, that Prince, the entertainer that recently died, well, within the last year or so, Prince had boxes upon boxes upon boxes of songs that he could always draw from. Many of those were completed songs or poems or something from his father, who was also an artist. And many were works of his own. But he was never without material. And if you can think about Prince's life to use as a great example of inspiration, Prince produced albums like nobody's business, 2 and 3 a year, where many artists, most artists, your average artist, may have come out with one album every year or two. Prince had several. I saw him on an interview and somebody asked him, well, what do you have in the works? And he was like, what don't I have in the works? Well, how many albums do you have? Like 3 or 4, he said. And the person was like, and how many years? He was like, that's just the rest of this year. In other words, Prince's mindset was, man, I got stuff going and coming. I'm never without. I believe Prince and who he was as a musician, as a writer, as an instrumentalist, as a vocalist. I think his example of how he lives is a fitting example, can be a fitting example for those of us who are artists ourselves in our own respects, business people, whatever. We should always have material on hand. I really believe that that is a true measure of our wealth, of our emotional health and well-being as an artist or a worker of metal or whatever it is we do. What do you have on hand? Let me give you some additional pieces. There are 4 stages of development that I've kind of made myself aware of, and I realized I needed to always have poems, for example, in one of these 4 stages at all times in my life as, for example, a poet. And the first stage is always the draw from inspiration stage. In other words, when inspiration gives you something and you record it, whether initially or where it's going to live finally before it takes life and becomes something that's personified, is you need to understand that inspiration should be constantly giving. You should be constantly positioning yourself to get from inspiration. But you should always be in a mode to be able to reach, like Prince, into that box of songs to grab the next piece. So stage number 1, the draw from inspiration. Stage number 2, you should always have something that you've already drawn from inspiration and you've started. There should be evidence in your studio, in your workplace, in your office, on your walls, on your whiteboard, on a calendar, on a pad, on something in some kind of electronic device that you have drawn from inspiration and now you've started to work in that particular area. In other words, according to my notes, We should be able to see the evidence that you're gathering material or tools, or there's a checklist that you've made and you know that, okay, yeah, I got this from inspiration. I got it out of the box. And now I'm going to start working on it. And I need this, this, and this from the hardware store. This, and this. I need some paint, some oils, some watercolor from the art store. So there should be that piece for stage 2. Then there should always be a stage 3, that you have something there in a stage 3. And that's that people can tell that you're in the middle of a project, poem, or some kind of work. That needs to be evident. So you need a piece in the drew from inspiration stage. You need something in the you just got started on this stage. You need something that's kind of midway, like you got a little bit more, maybe a lot more to go. You can tell you're in the middle of this particular piece, poem, writing, book, etc. And then the final stage is you should have something that you just finished. You should have something of your work and whatever it is you do in each of these 4 stages always, and it should happen very cyclically, very frequently. Something you've drawn from inspiration, something you started, something you're currently in the middle of, and then something that you just finished. So if you were a sculptor, I should be able to walk through your studio, walk through your work area, and I should see something like you got some blueprints or plans down, or something that was in a very raw form that inspiration gave you. Now that's spread out over a desk. And then I should see something else of another sculpture. If you're a wood sculptor, I should see a log that you've just gotten from the mill that you are sanding or something down, and you're about ready to lay your tool to it to start the first carving. And then I should see some sculpture somewhere, or painting perhaps, that where the canvas is already stretched, you've got more than an outline and it's half filled. You got almost all of the leaves from the forest on the trees, that kind of thing. And then if you were a painter, I should be able to see a painting that you've just finished. It's something that's ready for the studio. You've got your folks about to come in and lay some plastic or canvas over that and have that carted out to be mounted in a show or wherever it's going to be for its final resting place. My friends, it's been a joy for me to share this information with you. I hope it's been as powerful, and I hope it will be as effective as it's been fun and exciting to deliver. Remember, I'm sharing principles with you that I have followed, learned, gone with, been touched by just to produce this video. So I'm not talking about some pie-in-the-sky concept or process that I haven't used or don't use, or something I'm telling you somebody else does. This is home for me. This is where I live as an artist. This is where I live as a person. This is where I live as a professional, as a parent. This has been Inspiration Management. Thank you for joining. Thank you for walking with me. Thank you for being tolerant. Thank you for being enthusiastic. And thank you for putting these things into play. Be sure to review the entire series, and then do this, my friend. Share this with someone you care about. Until next time, it has been my honor, and we'll see you for the next series, brought to you by Encouragement is Key. Take care.